Okay, and we're back. We've got a cool little police station. We've got some mountains. Yeah, the mountains need help. We can worry about that another time. You get the general idea. What I want to do now is first, I think I want to turn off that grid because it seems to be confusing me with what we've got on the ground there. So I'm going to turn that off. What we want to do now is we want to lower our mountain just a tad and make room for the new things. So that's good. I'm going to go ahead and create a new box. Let me make sure. So I've got my mountains. I'm going to create a new layer. Before I do anything, I'm going to call this, I'm going to capitalize that. And I can't spell city streets. And we'll make that a nice black, gray, something like that. And you guessed it, another box. So we've got a box. Let me think. We could do this at 750. This can be a lot of blocks. We'll try that anyway. So we'll do 750. We'll go high. We'll go 50 high. Just so we can have room to play. And 750 wide. I think that's right. That's a start anyway. We can adjust later if we need to. So I'm going to take this face, and instead of adding subdivisions to the whole thing, I'm just going to subdivide the top. So I'm going to use that cool little button we were using before and smooth it once, twice. That gets me 8 blocks across. One more gets me 16. That's probably more than enough. Okay. For whatever reason, when we did that, you can see we got like some darkening around the base. Something happened to the smoothing when we started subdividing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the inverse of what I've got, which is going to be the bottom and the sides, and I'm going to mesh display, harden those edges. And can I inverse again? Back on edges, let's go to faces. Okay, I lost the selection. But what we can do is this. So I'm going to turn off my mountains. I'm going to get my overall block thing for my city streets and pull that down. To negative 25 since we had 50 high, and that should be sitting right on that. Looks like it. Okay. Now we can start playing again. And so what we've got is some, if you can see these cubes, right, these squares that are subdivided. It's a rather large city block, but this is a small police department, so that may work. We can add in buildings around it or a big parking lot. Nice lockup, something. So we're going to go with what we've got. I'm going to go back to face mode. I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to use my control and drag and deselect those. So I should just have the tops. All right, modeling toolkit. And we're going to use the Extrude Tool right off the bat. And I think we're going to try for an offset of about 4. We won't keep faces together off. Okay. So these gouges we just did between the blocks, those are going to be our streets. And it's pretty good size for an intersection, if you can imagine that police car being right in the middle of an intersection. Let's try 5. Huge intersection. You know what? I like that. We'll have some nice wide streets. Do some high-speed chases or something cool like that. So that's good. So I'm going to turn that tool off. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to start coloring. We're going to do some texturing on this very same model next week. when we go through that chapter, but for now we're just going to do some coloring. So I'm going to once again select the inverse, right click, I'm going to assign a new material, and this will pull this up. I'm just going to make it a Lambert. And we're going to make that a nice dark color for the street. Not quite black, a little bit of richness to it. Call it M Blacktop. Grab the inverse again and do the same thing. So we're going to assign a new material that is also a Lambert. Sidewalks. That's fine. And make it a little darker. No, that's good. We'll go up one. Okay. So we did that. Now I'm going to go back to my modeling toolkit. And I'm going to do something that looks absolutely crazy, but we're going to fix it later. So I'm going to do an extrude on this. I'm going to pull it way up. Now we're still wanting to do sidewalks, not skyscrapers right off the bat, but this will give me room to grab the edges around the sides. So I've got those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more extrude on that. Excuse me, and I'm going to make that, I'm going to inset that. So let's go in. Those are pretty thick sidewalks. Let's go with 3. That's a good size sidewalk. All right, we'll leave that as is. And the sidewalks are way too high because we're going to get fancy with them before we put them back down. So I'm going to go to edges. I'm just going to try and grab everything in the middle. 1024 edges selected, which is already a lot, and now we're going to add to it because we're crazy. So I'm going to do a bevel. And let's bevel out at 0.15. Let's try it at 2 segments. We're going to kill the poly count, but let's go 3. Very nice. Nice rounded street corners. We'll take it. Now, of course, we may not want every street here to be a perfect grid in a city block, but we can either plan ahead if it's our purpose, or we can just delete some stuff later, as I think we'll find out soon. Okay, so I'm going to go back to faces. I'm going to grab all these, control and unselect all that, and so we have, I hope, just the tops. Looks like it. And I'm going to pull them back down quite a bit. Use my scroll wheel to zoom back in. Those are still really high. We'll come back down about to where the sidewalks were on our other model. Very nearly perfect. Okay. I like that. So back to object mode. Now we've got a police department right in the middle of the street, but we can move that. So let's go back to our channel box and layer editor. Let's turn that off of just being a reference. And so what I can do here is I can right click on the station layer and so just select all the objects. And it grabs everything in there. I'm going to move this over. I like it being right on the corner of this. We'll move it over a bit, and we'll try and line it up with the street corner we've got there. Cool. There, it almost looks like we had a city planner. Okay. Now what we can do is we can get rid of the city block that's intersecting. So let me go back to making this just a reference. I'm going to go face mode here. I'm going to grow that by 1 and a few more. Grow it again. And grow it one more time. And then we won't have even the extra stuff in the corner. Hit the delete key. Hope we didn't just crash. Cool. Okay. Just in case, I'm going to go ahead and save this. If you get nervous, hit save. Good rule, all the time. So I'm going to grab that edge sec there and mesh, fill the hole. Watch the spinning wheel. Glad we saved when we did. Okay, there we go. And we'll go to face, and we'll make sure that this goes to be a blacktop. And back to object mode. Cool. All right, so we've got the start of a city. We can add in, as I said, other buildings, other parking lots, alleyways, whatever. I don't want to make this entire thing uniform, right? We could delete a few of these. We could make a cool, like, downtown square, do some things like that. I think first what we're going to do is just make a few generic buildings. So let's go back to this, back to face mode. Grab like, undo that. I'm going to grab like every other building or so along the back edge. They're going to be farther away from our actions, so we don't care too much what they're going to look like. So these are going to be more generic. And then a few more random ones in the middle. Just to be an example. Okay. Before we do anything, let's change the material on these. So we'll assign a new material. We want it to be shiny this time, so we can go with a blend or a fong. I'm going to go with the fong. There it is. All right, we've got it assigned. We can add color later, so let's go ahead and extrude this while we've got them selected. So our currently selected model has 12,613 faces since we decided to be real cute with the sidewalk rounding. So that's why this thing is taking forever to do anything. But as a quick example, we did just raise up a bunch of skyscrapers. We're going to call that good enough. We can adjust those heights later. I'm going to go to the attribute editor here, slide all the way down to our fong. Give it a good name, and we'll pick a color. Something like that. Now they're distinguishable at least. What else do I need to do? Oh, I don't think I named this object. Shame on me. Okay, so this is city streets. And go to my channel editor and unhide the mountains. Just double checking all my layers. Mountains, station, city streets. So it appears our city streets do not belong to the city streets layer. So I can select them. They sure don't. Now right click on my city streets layer and say just add objects. Add selected objects. Okay. Boom. All right. Thank you, layers. All right. Well, now we can see we've got some shiny buildings in the distance. Ooh, look at them shine. We've got some streets. We've got some sidewalks. We've got a poly count that might kill us. We've got really ugly mountains. I'm going to do, just for fun, I'm going to do one cool building just to play around with. And then what I want you to do is finish up creating the rest of the city. Give me some more buildings, some fancy buildings, some generic buildings, a bowling alley, whatever it is. And then the rest of your assignment is going to be populate the city. You don't have to texture everything. You just color it for now, since we're going to be doing more materials next week. And then pay attention to the fact that I want 4 very unique objects, be that buildings or other cars or giant killer robots or whatever else you want to put in this city. And then I'm going to want you to, in the quiz section for this week, I'm going to want you to tell me what those 4 objects were and what techniques or tools you used from the book to make those objects. So make sure that you use unique tools for each of those 4 objects. So that's the assignment, and before I log out, I'm going to make just a big building right here in the middle. So I'm going to hide everything else. And I'm just going to start making some junk. All right, let me see. Go to the edges. Give this some form. Believe with a connect. Oh, it's only going to let me do one at a time? That's odd. You know what? We'll go with it. Okay, we're locking up now. Classic should have saved moment. Oh, I need to turn off the connect tool. That's part of it. Okay. So that was looking cool. I'm going to go ahead and hit connect. And we're going to make this a slightly odd shaped building with a nice big front porch here. I'm actually going to make that connect twice. And I'm going to slide that over wrong way. Let's go to 0.8. Just kidding, 0.7. Perfect, I like that. Let me do a couple buildings. Okay. Turn off connect. I don't even know why that's there. Okay, I want to go faces. Let me think what else I could do with this before I do that. No, this will be fine. And I can round those edges later. Okay, so I'm just going to extrude this one face up. hindsight, maybe maybe too many city blocks on one object. I'm going to extrude that up a bit just to make some steps. Those are really tall steps. Turning the tools on and off seems to be freaking this thing out right now. All right, one more connect there. Excellent. Do another extrude on this face. Whoa, it went down. Okay, let's go up. I'm going to try something here. It's kind of cool. Of all things, I don't know why the connect is being such a pain, but it is. And yet I insist on using it. Okay, I don't know what we just did. Some freeform goofiness. But that's a somewhat interesting building that I forgot to texture. Okay. there. That's different. You can see we're just playing with some geometric shapes. We can do some really cool buildings and add some uniqueness. We could put towers on that. We could do all kinds of things. We could, I'd still like to do away with one of these city blocks and do kind of a downtown square. But you get the idea. So that's a building. It needs more going on with the top, but our connect tool is being extremely ridiculous today. Let me try this. Come up some and give it an offset. That actually looks kind of cool. Gotta fix that. That's too shiny. Wow, even hardened edge is going to be something to wait on now. Okay. It looks a little better. Anyway, that's one weird looking building. And you can do lots more. Like I said, shopping markets, parks, lots of things like that. You know what? I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to make a generic little tree before we leave, just because I can't seem to quit. Maybe we'll do a couple trees. Okay. Let me go to my police station, give us some idea of scale. Make that taller. I'm going to give it a lot of subdivisions up. Okay. Because I didn't learn my lesson before, I'm going to make even more. Okay. That's a start. Oh, okay, that's what's happening. I was overshooting the offset and it was coming back around. So let's go 0.5. There we go, 0.7, that's good. One more extrusion. Simple trunk. Okay, I don't appear to have a brown, so I'm going to make a new one. Really? What's happening here? Odd. Won't let me name it. Okay, well, maybe we can pick a color. Maybe we're crashing. There it is. Okay, I'm going to grow that selection and then select the inverse. Go ahead and make those green. I'll deselect the top. And then we're going to go ahead and do some extruding on this. All right, something like that. So we need to try not to overshoot the top ones, but then the bottom looks a little blocky. Or we can just go all in. That's fine, we'll go all in. Okay. Is it perfect? No. But it's a passable little tree. That, again, we did not name, so let's go back and do that. I don't know what's still black on this thing. It seems to think Lambert 1 is in use somewhere. And now that it's forgotten its grudge against us, we can name that. Duplicate it. All right, well, we don't have an entrance yet, but we've got a couple trees in front of our building. Keep the city green. And I'll leave the rest of the city up to you. So, fill in most of the city blocks. Get creative with how the streets work. If you want to add some curves or you want to make a big park in the center or off to the side. Make a bunch of different trees. Do whatever you want to with this. And we'll meet back in a week to texture this. Let me save that. Cool. Enjoy.